Good morning and welcome to our section 24 estimator. I'm just going to get rid of a few things on here. Right, we're going to run through the section 24 bomb disposal. First of all, we're going to see if you've actually got a ticking time bomb, and then we're going to show you how to get rid of it, or one of the methods anyway. So this is one of two videos that I've done. So let's get cracking, shall we? So let's make sure I've got the web browser up. Okay, so I shall now get rid of that. So I'm more or less ready. Here we go. So, section 24 time bomb. You may be sitting on it right now, and because the interest rates are now going up at a rapid pace of knots, this is late 2022, come next year or the end of this tax year, as a landlord, as a buy-to-let landlord, you may have some very horrible surprises coming your way. So let's see what we can do. Now, just to run through this, there's a QR code here that you can scan with your mobile phone. Mobile phone like that, you just scan it with your phone, photo app running, and you'll be able to download this tax bomb estimator yourself. So going to part one, which is an introduction. It says what is section 24, gives you a broad outline. I'm not going to read it, you can do that yourself, okay, because it's a video and it uses up a fair chunk of resources on your computer. So just have a read of that and it'll explain it all. First thing, there are three critical calculations that need to be performed before even HMRC can calculate what extra income tax you may be due to pay. And so we're going to go through this first. So the first one is allowable expenses. Now I've done this one already on a previous video, and you'll see there's some pre-existing figures in here. So to speed things up, these obviously won't apply to you. So in which case you press this reset button here, where I'm pointing at, and it will clear all of that there. But I'm just going to speed things up and I'll do it at the end. I'm going to cover these buttons as well. If you need to refer to HMRC's website, you click on this button and it will open up a new tab on your browser, and it will explain what the rules are for tax relief for residential landlords. Okay, so I've linked that there for you. There's another one here for HMRC and their tax rates. Same again, it opens up a new tab and it shows you the current tax rates and personal allowances. And obviously as these change every time we get a new chancellor, which is normally about every 3 days at the moment, he said, you may want to keep referring back to that. And the next one is, one of the questions is, what is your council tax? And everyone guesses and they get it wrong. So I'll put this little tool on here. You click on that, it opens up, and this is where you can find out for any UK property what its council tax bill is. So if I put in one, I'm going to go for my next door neighbour. So I want to see how much he pays in his council tax. It's L9 2BS, and it's house number 14. Let's have a look. So house number 14, he's paying 1,707. So that's there for looking up any person's council tax. Okay. So if I change council tax on here and just find it to 1707. Okay, so just to run through these, obviously if you've got an accountant, you'll have an accountancy fee to pay. So you put in what it is each year. So they might charge you 300 quid a year or more. And you just click the yearly box because it's a yearly bill. And it'll then divide it by 12 and it comes up with 25 there. Okay, and you just fill these out. There's a couple on here that people struggle with and they say, well, what does that mean? So I'll just run through the definitions for you. So, accountancy fees, you're paying an accountant, so you put that in there. Building repairs but not renovations. So if you're repairing a building for a broken window or a roof tiles come off and stuff like that, that's classed as a repair. A renovation is when you improve it, or it would class as an improvement, and normally that isn't allowable against your yearly revenues. It goes against a renovation part of your balance sheet, and I'm not going to go into the technicalities of it, but basically it's not a yearly expense you can deduct. So your accountant will look through your accounts and they'll come up with the relevant costs there. So I've just put a notional figure in there of 974 quid because I've had to repair the building or 3 buildings twice or whatever because the workman was crap. And just put in there the yearly box, yeah. Building service charges is where, right, say you have an apartment in a block of apartments and you only own one apartment. If it's got an elevator or an escalator or things like that, you normally pay as well building service charges, or if there's a parking space that's outside the building plot, so you could have a parking space further down the street or a lock-up, it will be classed as a building service charge, and you put that in there. Buildings insurance, that's straightforward. Business mobile phone, so you've got something on giffgaff or EE, and they charge you 30 quid a month. Okay, you click that on there and you change that. Business software subscription, you could be do your accounts through QuickBooks or Xero, and they charge you a monthly subscription for doing it. Or you might be using Microsoft Excel 365 or Office 365, and you pay a subscription. So normally it's 78 quid a year for 365, so you put in 78 quid and you click the yearly box. Well, mine's monthly, okay, and I'll put my example in there, and it's £18. It's actually QuickBooks. Business vehicle use costs, your accountant will either go for mileage as an allowance or they will go for the actual costs. Well, my tax advisor advises to go for the actual costs, which is roughly 108 quid a month. So that's in there. Business website costs. You might have a website promoting your property or whatever, but you've got a business website saying joeshouses.com, and you put the cost in there if you're running something on GoDaddy, something like that. And you've got cleaning fees. You might have HMOs and they've got to be cleaned each week. So you might be paying 100 quid a month for that. So you put that in there. Commercial image payments, what are they? Well, say you've got, give you an example, that's a commercial image here. I don't own it, I didn't make it, so I pay a license fee for it. And it's £9 a month. But the beauty of it is I can have thousands of images and websites set up with that. So as one of my pillars of business, I will have internet marketing, and it goes through the business. That's it. Communal streaming, what would that be? That's a HMO, say, and you're running Netflix through it, something like that. So if you're running Netflix, Amazon Plus, any streaming service really, and it's on a shared basis, you put that in there. So on a HMO, it could be Now TV, 9 quid a month. Just put that in there. Filing fees is where you get, right, well, you do all the bookkeeping, but you don't do your tax return. You get a tax advisor or bookkeeper to do it for you, in which case you'll pay them a one-off fee each year for doing it, and so you'd have a filing fee. So say it's 150 quid, okay, and it's a yearly fee, which is 13 quid a month. Next one's gardening fees. You might have a HMO where you're paying a gardener to come round to clear the weeds from the path, 20 quid a month, something like that. Gas and electrical safety checks. Well, we've had an expensive year last year because we had to change a lot of fuse boxes. So that came out about £2.5 grand. Oops, yeah, so quite pricey that one. Ground rent is where you've got a leasehold property, such as a flat, and you have to pay ground rent, or you might have a leasehold house and you have to pay ground rent there. Now, I'm just going to pause the video because I think this camera is starting to point at the ceiling. Yes, it is. Right, so a second. So going back now to the browser. So as I say, the camera is pointing at the ceiling, so technical hitches. So that's that one there. So I've done, how am I up to? Landlord training, but not for new strategies. Now this is a strange one. You need to take advice from your accountant what they think you'll get away with here. HMRC are saying, yeah, you can charge for training against your business profits, but not for new strategies, which doesn't make sense. Why would you not want training for a new development of your business? So I don't get that. So I've put mine in there. It's between HMRC and the accountant to argue it out. So I put in there, I'm on Mastermind with one of the training people, companies, and it's around about 12 grand a year. So I tick the 12 grand a year and a yearly box, so that's £1 grand a month. Legal costs not for sale or purchase. So say you're having to evict a tenant, you put in there what it's cost you in legals. If you've got insurance for that, then obviously they pick up the tab, but you've probably got an excess, haven't you? The first part of any payment you'd have to pay for. So I put in there 600 quid. Letting agent fees and commission. Well, tenants don't pay agents fees anymore, I believe. It's all down to the landlords now. So say you put a new tenant in, it's cost you 500 quid. So you put that in there, and that is an allowable expense. Office rent, so if you're using an office that you may rent out on a yearly basis, so 600 quid a year seems reasonable. Office supplies, I don't know, toner, ink cartridges, paper, stuff like that. You can put in a total for the year, or a monthly fee or something like that. I put 20 quid a month there. Professional indemnity insurance. Now, most landlords sort of glaze over and their eyes go crossed when they hear of this. If you're a letting agent, you'll know all about this. But if you're not, and you're just a standalone landlord, basically, especially in Wales, you should be trained and you will be qualified to be a landlord. In which case, you'll be classed as a professional, wouldn't you? Because you've got a professional qualification. So you could have a tenant that comes after you and decides to sue you for doing something unprofessionally that shouldn't be allowed. And in which case you'd have professional indemnity insurance that you pay for, and that'd be, say, 108 quid a year. Okay, so that's professional indemnity insurance, not public liability, professional. You've got property equipment repairs. Okay, so I know computer packs up, needs new hard drive, it's cost you 80 quid during the year, you put that in there. Selective council licenses, you will have councils where they will select certain areas, so it's a selective license within their boundaries, where landlords who rent out need a license to do so. In which case I've got a couple, so I'll put in there 400 quid a year. Okay, which is 33 quid a month. Next one, service breakdown insurance, is something like British Gas Home Care. So if you're protecting your boiler with insurance cover, you put that in there. Okay, and so it's 400 quid a year, which is 33 quid a month. Okay, water and sewerage charges, pretty straightforward. Well, obviously mine's quite high because I've got a lot of properties, but you might have one and say it's just 2 properties, say. Well, I'm going to put on the next few examples 6 properties, so I'm going to leave that as it is. So I'll change it to 2,100 for the year. Okay, so that now equals 2,477 for the month, or £29,725 for the year. Ooh, that mounted up, didn't it? So if you weren't claiming for those, you'd be paying tax on that money, wouldn't you? But these are all bona fide allowable expenses that landlords may not be aware of. So hopefully that helps you. And it says here, carry over to section D on the questions page, which is the next question, next section. So I'm going to click on here. I'm going to go to section D. So it's A, B, C, and D, which is here. Okay, so, and it's carried over to that bit to prompt you for when you get to this bit. But I'm going to stop the video now, and then we're going to do part 3 questions in a moment. So I shall see you momentarily once I stop recording.